Talking about what we can expect for the rest of the day today, because the rest of your Saturday after these storms move out will be much quieter. If you live in these areas where I'll put the pointer at, you're fine to go back to bed if you want to relax a little bit more. We do have, again, the Huntsville community, Wartburg, Jamestown, Fentress, Cumberland County, moving into parts of Morgan County, even parts of Roane County. We're going to continue to see, again, a lot of this risk for these strong storms move out of the area. As we take you into parts of Campbell and Claiborne County, you're also looking at the potential for a lot of these strong storms to move out. So the main threat that we have in place this morning is going to be right across to the east of I-75 and then mainly down into the Southern Valley. That is where we do have that tornado warning. Again, some broad rotation is going to be possible. Again, we're about a minute away from the start of 10 News Today. I'm just going to keep us going right up until 10 News Today, and then we'll kind of regroup. We'll get into the start of the show. But I do want to stay on here just one more time since we do have that tornado warning that is in effect again for Bradley, Hamilton, McMinn, and Polk counties. Again, this is a severe thunderstorm that is capable of producing a tornado. It was located just 11 miles northeast of Chattanooga, and it is moving to the east at 45 miles per hour. So this is going to be moving out of our viewing area as the morning progresses on, but it is going to affect the southern half of parts of McMinn County, and it could move into parts of the southern half of Monroe County. Let me show you one more time where that tornado warning is at before we do get into the start of 10 News Today. Again, if needed, folks, we will take over most of the show if possible, but right now the rotation that we have in place is still rather broad. Again, it's really nothing that's going to be too alarming, but I do expect to see the potential for a little bit of some rotation, some broad rotation, primarily now moving to the northeast of Snow Hill. So that's going to be just to the west of Hopewell, and it's going to be just to the west of Charleston. The storm is moving off to the east-northeast around 45 miles per hour, and it's going to be this area right here that is going to be a little bit more concerning. All right. So that's a look at where we're at right now. Again, we're going to continue to watch this tornado warning. It is in effect until 6:30 this morning, and we will provide more updates. We'll be tracking this coming up in just a little bit. All right, Katie, we'll send it back to you.
10 News in High Definition is sponsored by Rusty Wallace Automotive Group. 10 News on WBIR starts now.
Good morning, everyone. Meteorologist Rebecca Sweet and meteorologist Kaylee Bowers have been keeping you up to date all morning about those warnings and watches that we're seeing with the severe weather moving through East Tennessee. Rebecca, take it away. It's your stage. What do we need to know?
We just went into it. We have a tornado warning that is in effect for the far southern half of our viewing area. We are looking at some broad rotation within this storm. So the potential for seeing, again, a radar estimated tornado possible is going to be something that we continue to watch. As you look at the big picture right now, again, if you are watching and you are living primarily in the northern half of Knox County, Anderson County, Campbell County, Claiborne County, Morgan County, Cumberland County, Fentress County, your threat for seeing these strong storms has primarily come to an end. And so if you just need to kind of take a deep breath, it is continuing to move out, but we are focusing our attention for areas to the east of I-75 and to the south of I-40, where we do have those severe thunderstorm warnings in place. And we also have that tornado warning that does include really the far southern half of our viewing area. Excuse me. As you mentioned from Katie Inman, we do have meteorologist Kaylee Bowers, who is here this morning as well. We're updating you online as well as on social media, so make sure you join the conversation if you do have any questions about this storm. Let's get right into where we have that tornado warning. So this has been issued again from the National Weather Service for Bradley, Hamilton, McMinn, and Polk counties. There is the possibility within this storm that we could have hail up to quarter size, which is actually something that we have not seen with some of our previous warnings. This storm could potentially produce again up to quarter size hail, kind of giving us an idea that we're looking at some of those higher cloud tops with these storms, and there is also a little bit of some broad rotation within this warning. Let's take away the warning. Let's focus our attention specifically on what we have. What we like to look at, since it is still dark outside this morning, is going to be the amount of lightning that we have in place. Once you start to see more lightning increase in a storm, it really gives us an idea of the strength of these storms and what they're continuing to produce across the area. So if you're living right now in the Riceville community, Calhoun, Etowah, Athens, Englewood, Tellico Plains, potentially this storm is moving off to the northeast or the east-northeast at 45 miles per hour. There's the potential that this storm could move into your area. Again, some broad rotation, really nothing that is overly alarming. You can see why they issued the tornado warning. That broad rotation is going to be just to the northeast of Hopewell, continuing to slide right across I-75. And if it does hold together, there is the opportunity for seeing some broad rotation near Calhoun and going into Etowah. And you have to think this is a part of a much greater line of storms that has made its way through the area. This is actually the second tornado warning that we've had just this morning. The previous one, we have not had any storm reports or damage reports just yet from that system, but there is the potential again that this storm could produce some broad rotation and some very gusty winds. Let me show you the area that we are kind of highlighting when it comes to that tornado warning. Again, this is going to be in effect until 6:30 this morning. You notice how we have those two different colors. We have those kind of the tannish color and the red color. That is indicating where we have the potential for some rotation. The tighter that those colors get, the brighter that they get, the little bit more of a concern that we get across the area for maybe some potential tightening of this system that could lead to the thought, the question that maybe we are looking at more of an isolated tornado. But this is more broad rotation. So right now, just to the west of Hopewell, northeast of Snow Hill, and heading into the Calhoun location right across I-75 is where we are seeing what could possibly be a tornado. But again, we'd have to see a little bit more of some tightening from that to really have more of an idea of what we're looking at. Again, still a very strong storm. There is the possibility. That's why they issued that tornado warning. That is going to be, again, something that we watched coming from the National Weather Service. This is just a moment ago. They have continued the tornado warning. Again, this is going to be for Bradley, Hamilton, McMinn, and Polk counties. This is a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado that was located near Cleveland, and it is moving to the east at 45 miles per hour. So Cleveland, again, is right here where we do have that line kind of moving this rotation. Again, it's just to the north of Cleveland, heading towards Hopewell, and it's moving right along I-75. Again, it is moving off to the east at 45 miles per hour. And so if you live in the Calhoun location, Calhoun area, Etowah, Riceville, Benton, you may want to take shelter as we have the potential for a very strong storm moving into your area. Again, the key word there is capable of producing a tornado. Not saying that this is a confirmed tornado, but we still have some very strong winds that are going to be possible within this system. This area is also a little bit more tricky to do some forecasting with, considering it is so far away from our radar. That it is a little bit more difficult getting into the higher elevation for us to get a really exact idea of what the spin is going to look like in the atmosphere. That is a look again at that tornado warning that we have, and that's going to be in effect until 6:30 this morning. That does include Bradley, Hamilton, McMinn, and Polk counties. Again, that's going to go here for another 24 minutes. If you see your city that is listed in those boxes, Charleston, Cleveland, East Cleveland, Hopewell, now is the time to get into your safe place, the most interior part of your house, away from windows, away from doors. If you have a basement, that is going to be the safest place to go. Now, if you do not have a basement, again, just get in the innermost part of your house, because the biggest thing you're trying to avoid is potential flying debris. So just, again, innermost part of your house, don't go outside, don't go look at these storms. You want to make sure that you are taking shelter. We're going to continue to watch this across East Tennessee, where this is a part of a couple of other strong storms that are continuing to slide their way throughout parts of Sevier County, moving into Cocke County and Greene County. The eastern half of Blount County is where we also have that cluster of storms that is continuing to slide its way with that severe thunderstorm warning. Moving into parts of Sevier County, and again moving into parts of Cocke and Greene counties as well. Let's zoom on in. At one point, and really even going into now, the storms in the strength in comparison to where they were perhaps even an hour ago, we've really started to see a decrease in a lot of this lightning activity. The reason why we're looking at the severe thunderstorm warnings right now is because of gusty winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour plus, and that is why we could have the opportunity of seeing some down trees or some power outages. Speaking of which, just taking the latest look at KUB, we've had some power outages throughout the Knox County community, and this is going to be over just 1,000 people without power right now, primarily going into parts of West Knox County. So severe thunderstorm warning is issued for Cocke, Greene, Jefferson, and Sevier counties. If you are in Del Rio, Hartford, Newport, or Parrotsville, you do want to make sure you're taking shelter from these storms as well. We had these storms roll their way through parts of Knox County. Heavy rain, gusty winds going to be likely, as well as seeing the opportunity for some frequent lightning. But the lightning is certainly not as not as prevalent as what it was, let's say, even just an hour ago. We are seeing some pretty active weather moving through parts of Sevier County, moving into Sevierville, Pigeon Forge. We're looking at some frequent lightning that's continuing to track off to the east, but this is just a severe thunderstorm warning. I shouldn't say just. This is a severe thunderstorm warning with the possibility of 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts or greater. Now we take you back down into the bigger picture point of view where we do have that tornado warning again off to our south. A lot of people have been asking about our threats for tornado warnings. We have a tornado watch that has been issued from the National Weather Service until 7 o'clock this morning. So that will go just for another hour. Again, really indicating some of these locations that we were expecting the potential for some rotation. Southern Valley being one of those spots. We had a little bit more spin in the atmosphere, a little bit more of an unstable atmosphere possible. And again, right now where we're seeing this tornado warning is certainly a spot where we were expecting it. The rotation within this storm, again, is not overly impressive. I do expect some strong winds, but there's really nothing about these latest velocity scans that have me very, very nervous. Again, we're going to keep in talking about that because it is a tornado warning in place, but I just don't foresee this as being an imminent threat right now with the latest velocity scans that are coming through. So we'll see how this continues to go. We do have that severe thunderstorm warning that does include Polk, Greene, Jefferson, and Sevier counties. And then we're also watching that tornado warning. Still a very strong storm that is in the far Southern Valley. But it does look like the latest velocity scans not picking up perhaps on some of the tightest rotation that we've had. This is kind of the big picture point of view again on the satellite and radar. As I mentioned before, these storms are going to continue to push their way through the area. The rest of the day going to be much quieter. So we take you from 6, 7 o'clock this morning. Look at how things just really quiet down just within the next hour. So if you were up throughout the night, you may get a chance to try and go back to bed here within just a little bit, maybe sleep for a few more hours because the rest of your Saturday looks like it's going to be relatively quiet. We will continue to see sunshine into the afternoon and some breezy conditions. That's just a warning. We will have a wind advisory and a high wind warning that will be in effect through 8 p.m. tonight with wind gusts, again, 60, 70 miles per hour possible into the higher elevations. Wind gusts throughout the Central Valley will be close to near 50 miles per hour, and this is after the storms roll out. So speaking of storms, let's go back to what we're seeing with radar. Again, that's why we are on 10 News today, but I'm taking over most of the program right now because we are talking about multiple severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for parts of Sevier, Polk, and Greene counties. And then we also do have that tornado warning that is in effect for parts of tornado warning going to be in effect for parts of Bradley, Hamilton, McMinn, and Polk counties. Again, this was issued roughly 5 to 10 minutes ago, and they are issuing it until 6:30 this morning. And this is due to a radar indicated possible tornado moving into that area. It's still a very tough place to try and get some of the latest scans on the velocity scans. But at one point it did look like we did have a little bit of some broad rotation, and that is certainly something that we're going to continue to monitor. And again, that's why they did issue that tornado warning. Trying to zoom in down into the Southern Valley. Let's take you right down into what we are seeing. Where we do have that tornado warning in place. Again, really not seeing a lot of that rotation tightening up. Perhaps maybe around the Calhoun area, we could see some of those gusty winds. Athens moving into that area, we could have some gusty winds as well. Again, it's right in between two different radars, and so you can see it's kind of jumping back and forth. Even if this is not a confirmed tornado, which again, the rotation has certainly started to lighten up a little bit, we're still looking at the potential for some very gusty winds. And so if your city is within that box of that tornado warning, or if you're seeing that tornado warning going across the bottom of this screen, you still want to make sure that you are taking this seriously and you are taking shelter from these storms as we continue to see some frequent lightning and some very gusty winds. Let's take you down a little bit further south. So that tornado warning right there is in effect for Bradley, Hamilton, McMinn, and Polk counties. If you're just joining us, this tornado warning is going to be again in effect until 6:30 this morning. Trying to get some more information from our National Weather Service just to see what they're picking up on. But let's take away the warning. Let's again focus on what we're seeing. There is, again, the potential for perhaps maybe some broad rotation within this storm. You can kind of see some of those gusty winds. If I were to say where this would be at, I would still say just to the north of the Cleveland location. Again, this is such a tough area with where it's located to really get some good readings on where we could have the potential for some rotation. We go back to radar, take away the warnings. Right here is where we could maybe see again the potential for some broad rotation just to the west of Charleston, right around the Hopewell community again, moving its way along I-75, heading towards Etowah. Not a whole lot of lightning with this storm. Gusty wind is going to be possible. Heavy rain is going to be likely. And as you noticed, even with that system, if we're not seeing any of that rotation, which is rather broad right now, we're still going to be looking at some damaging wind gusts pushing into the Charleston community. This is the second tornado warning that we've had issued this morning. The other tornado warning did not produce a whole lot of damage as we know of just yet. We will know much more as the sun continues to come up, but this is the area that we are watching right now for that potential tornado warning that is in effect for another 15 minutes. If you are joining us, we talked about this before. This is 10 News Today. We are taking over right now because we do have a tornado warning that is in effect for the far southern valley. Let me give you a glimpse of what that tornado warning looks like, and we'll talk a little bit more about how long it is in place. So again, tornado warning has been issued for Bradley, Hamilton, McMinn, and Polk counties. The storm is moving off to the east at 45 miles per hour. If you are in the path of this storm, if you see your city in that red polygon, you do want to take shelter. I know it's early. You probably are just waking up this morning, but you do want to make sure that you go in the innermost part of your house, away from windows, away from doors. Even if we do not have a confirmed tornado within this storm, you want to make sure that you are away from the potential for some flying debris. With wind gusts up to 60 to 70 miles per hour, there is still the opportunity for some downed trees. And then this could lead to, again, the opportunity for power outages or just some damage around your household. So we do have that tornado warning until 6:30. As we kind of focus our attention on the radar again, focusing on taking away the actual warning, just kind of looking at this. Really my biggest concern is going to be right along I-75, Charleston, Calhoun, Hopewell, Etowah. Heads up, this could be moving into your area. Also some very heavy rain and also some frequent lightning moving into the Englewood area, Athens, right along I-75, Tellico Plains. If this holds together, this could be something that you'd want to be a little bit more concerned with, likely within the next 25 to 30 minutes as it does continue to track off to the east. If you live on Highway 411, you will want to continue to take shelter again, as well as the storm will continue to track off to the east. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning, and that's going to be included to where this storm is continuing to track. As I mentioned before, it's moving off to the east, so you may want to continue to be a little bit more alert. The new severe thunderstorm warning that we have is issued for Blount, Loudoun, McMinn, and Monroe counties, and that is going to go until 6:45 this morning. The key tag on there as well is going to be tornado possible, because we are continuing to watch that broad rotation that we're kind of picking up on right now. So again, this storm is going to continue to move off to the east. We do have that severe thunderstorm warning that will be in effect until 6:45. And this is coming from the National Weather Service. Areas, if I list off your city, you do want to make sure that you are taking shelter in the innermost part of your house. Yes, it is really cool to look at some of these thunderstorms. I understand that, but this is not the time to do it. This is the time to more so take shelter and know that there's the potential for a very strong storm moving into your area. Athens, Sweetwater, Madisonville, Etowah, Englewood, Von Orr, Greenback, Tellico Plains, Nyota, and Fort Loudoun State Park. Again, if I listed off your city, if you need to know where you're at on this map, or if you have any questions, we also have meteorologist Kaylee Bowers, who is here in studio answering a lot of your questions. You do want to take shelter again in just preparation for this strong storm that is going to be moving into your area. One more time, let's get right to where that tornado warning is in place. And as you can see, in preparation for this storm moving off to the east-northeast, they have issued that severe thunderstorm warning just to the north. So we have that tornado warning that will be in effect for another 14 minutes. That includes Bradley, Hamilton, McMinn, and Polk counties. And then also the near severe thunderstorm warning that we have in place is going to include right here, Blount, Loudoun, McMinn, and Monroe counties. Listing off some cities. Oh, new tornado warning. All right, they just extended it to the east. We'll get that information for you in just a second. This is going to include Athens, Madisonville, Tellico Plains, and Von Orr. Again, they have the tag of saying a tornado possible. This is not a tornado warning. This is just a severe thunderstorm warning, but there is the potential that we could have some rotation within this storm. As we get to the latest tornado warning, this now includes Bradley, Cherokee, McMinn, and Monroe counties. Cities include Calhoun, Charleston, Etowah, and Tellico Plains. Again, this storm is moving off to the east at 45 miles per hour. They have now issued that tornado warning until 7 o'clock this morning. I do believe that Kaylee is getting all of our stuff ready to add onto a Facebook Live just in preparation for a lot of those folks who may have had the opportunity to lose power. We want to make sure we can get the information to them as well. Leading up to 7 a.m. is also the time frame where we have that tornado watch that is in effect across this area. All the components across the Southern Valley were there for us to see the opportunity for an isolated tornado. Right now, this is just the potential for a tornado. It's possible. We do not have confirmation that there is a tornado on the ground, but this is all radar estimated. So the latest news that we have from the National Weather Service is saying a tornado warning. This is going to be for parts of Cherokee, Bradley, McMinn, Monroe, and Polk counties until 7 o'clock this morning. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Charleston or near Benton, and it is now moving to the east at 55 miles per hour. So we are seeing this storm pick up in pace a little bit. Again, we're watching the potential for some broad rotation. This is all going to be radar estimated when it comes to this tornado. We have not had any reports or any actual knowledge of knowing that this is a confirmed tornado, but this is the possibility of seeing a tornado making its way across parts of the Southern Valley. Let me show you what we're looking like at the big picture right now. We do have that severe thunderstorm warning that is affecting areas south of I-40. We also have those 2 tornado warnings. As this system continues to slide off to the east, we will continue to see that tornado warning on the far left that will cancel, and then we will continue to see the new tornado warning take over as the storm continues to track off to the east at 55 miles per hour. Now, let me give you some good news. For you folks who are watching mainly north of I-40, right here to the west of I-75, Fentress County, Cumberland County, Ray County, as these storms continue to move through your area, yes, it will still be breezy, but your threat for seeing severe weather will be coming to an end. And so I do want to give you some good news. Yes, we are tracking severe thunderstorm warnings and we are watching tornado warnings, but I do want to give you some, again, relief knowing that slowly but surely we are going to continue to see some good news coming out of this. So we do have, again, the potential for some strong storms moving through the area. McMinn and Monroe counties, you have now been included in that new tornado warning that is issued until 7 o'clock this morning. Again, it is a severe thunderstorm. Key word there is going to be capable. This is a storm capable of producing a tornado. We did watch some of that broad rotation. This is a very tough area to kind of pick up on some of that broad rotation, but it is certainly one that we're going to continue to watch. So this is that location right there. McMinn and Monroe counties are in our viewing area. Bradley County was actually one area earlier where we did see some reports of some storm damage. That was, I believe, we had a roof that came off of a barn from an original severe thunderstorm warning that we had this morning earlier today. But now we do have this tornado warning again for Bradley, Cherokee, McMinn, and Monroe counties. Let's look at the latest velocity scan that we do have in place. Again, if we were to kind of pick up on the area of concern, it is very tough to pick up on the velocity scans to see any spin right now. Looking more so at the radar, I would say the best opportunity for us to see, again, the concern right now is going to be just to the east of Calhoun. You can kind of pick up on right here. And moving to the east-northeast, heading towards Etowah and Tellico Plains. So right here is where we could potentially see some of that rotation. We're going to have, again, team coverage right now. We have meteorologist Kaylee Bowers, who is also in the studio right now. Kaylee, whenever you want to, you can go over to the wall if you want to take it. Just let me know. I know that you have much more information about some of these storms that are moving through the area. We've been tracking these since early this morning. We do have 2 tornado warnings in place right now, multiple severe thunderstorm warnings. But as we talked about before, some relief is in sight, folks, for those folks who are just north of I-40 and to the west of I-75. So Kaylee, we're going to pass things over to you. Are you guys ready to take her over on the wall if she can talk a little bit more about some of these storms making their way through East Tennessee? and she is going to be over on max 2 if you do want to take her. Bryce, you can just feel free to do that. We're kind of on standby right now. Until that point, I will be talking about some of these storms that we have in the Southern Valley. Again, this is a really tough location to see some of that spin in the atmosphere, but if we're to look at this, Calhoun, Etowah, Tellico Plains, just to the east of I-75 is where we do have the potential for some of that rotation. Very gusty winds. So if we're not seeing the opportunity for a tornado with this, we're going to continue to see, again, let me just show this really quick and then I'll pass it over to Kaylee. Some of those gusty winds right here that may be possible, kind of that Boeing effect. Let's get a different one. A little bit more of that Boeing effect that's going to be moving through the area right here. If we point that, so moving into the Calhoun area and then just basically along Highway 411, that is where we could see perhaps some of those gusty winds kind of sliding into areas south of Etowah. Kaylee, we're going to send things over to you right now because we're also doing team coverage this morning. We're over on Facebook Live. We're here on air, and we're also continuing to track multiple severe thunderstorm warnings. Hey, Kaylee.
Hey there, Rebecca. Thanks so much. We're going to give you a little bit of a break right here. We're still talking about the same exact thing that we've been talking about all throughout the morning and throughout those nighttime hours. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning off to our east, also down to our south, but also we're going to look down here towards our south as well. If we can go and have our camera also on the weather graphics on the prompter as well, that'd be helpful for me as well. So this is what we're looking at as far as our potential, and we have a brand new severe thunderstorm warning in place right here off to our west. So we're going to get you guys this information here as far as what to expect with this system here. If we can get our graphics to go. Well, give me 1 second here. I thought we had this working. Not sure what's going on here. Let me get this severe thunderstorm warning information out for you at least while I get this system figured out. So that brand new thunderstorm warning just issued off to our east. That includes, it's not in our viewing area, but we still want to include it because it's right out of our viewing area near the North Carolina area. But we're focusing on this severe thunderstorm warning for Polk, Greene, Jefferson, and Sevier County. So let's get this back into play. And we're also going to go down here with this tornado warning for Bradley, Cherokee, McMinn, and Monroe County. And there is a smaller tornado warning also for Bradley, Cherokee, and McMinn and Monroe County. Looks like we have another thunderstorm warning in place. Sorry, there's a lot of rotation, a lot of moving parts going on right now.
I can take this back if you want over here.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take you back to Max 1 while we figure out what's going on with Max 2.
Thanks, everybody. You got to think the computers are working just as hard as we are this morning. They're just trying to catch up on the information as well. Let's talk a little bit more about some of those severe thunderstorm warnings that we do have in place. As Kaylee was mentioning, we have a new warning. This is actually just an additional warning that is kind of showing as this storm makes its way to the east. It will start to exit one area. They'll issue it for a new area. So now more of Polk County, more of Greene County is going to be under this additional warning that has already been for that area, but it's pushing its way into North Carolina. Hence the reason why we have that new warning that is out of our viewing area, but it is a good sign for us, folks. It is showing that this line of strong storms is continuing to pass through. I know that this has been a morning where a lot of people have just kind of been very anxious about, yes, we are tracking some of these strong storms that are making their way through the region, but thankfully it is going to be out of the area just as quickly as it's moving in, and really within the next 45 minutes to an hour, we're going to be looking at almost completely calm conditions across East Tennessee. Crazy to think about right now as we do have a severe thunderstorm warning that is going to be in effect for Sevier County, Polk County, going into Greene County. That is what's happening across East Tennessee in the northeastern corner of our viewing area. Then we take you down into the Southern Valley where we do have, again, more severe thunderstorm warnings in place, but also your eyes are being drawn to that tornado warning. We do have 2 tornado warnings, and this is just really showing the movement that we have from west to east. That tornado warning is in effect for Bradley, Cherokee, McMinn, and Monroe counties. The 2 counties that we have in our viewing area are McMinn and Monroe counties, and this is going to include Etowah. It is going to include Tellico Plains, and these storms, again, are showing tornado possible. There's an opportunity that these storms have some broad rotation with them. This is not a guarantee. This is not a confirm. This is our 2nd and 3rd tornado warnings that we've had just this morning. And this is just showing that we do have some of that broad rotation that is on our radar right now. Again, such a tough spot for us to get a good glimpse as to what is happening. I feel like we keep on looking at this, and I'm trying to get something that is just sparking that interest in what I have. Perhaps maybe around the Etowah area, going into Highway 411, there may be the opportunity for some broad rotation. This could perhaps be traveling and moving into parts of Tellico Plains. This storm system is moving off to the east at 45 miles per hour. Even if this is not a confirmed tornado, there is a reason why this tornado warning is in place. This storm has the possibility of producing a tornado, but it also has the possibility of producing winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour plus. And in addition to that, this storm, unlike the other storms that we've had this morning, has the possibility of producing up to quarter-size hail. So if you're watching right now, now is the time to take shelter. Now is the time to get into the innermost part of your house as we continue to see this tornado warning in place until 7 o'clock. I do foresee within the next 2 minutes that little tiny box that you see just to the left of that tornado warning, that will once again expire right here as that main concern has now moved off to the east. But Etowah, Tellico Plains, you are still very much in an area where we are looking at some broad rotation, some very gusty winds possible. So this polygon right here, again, will not be a concern coming up here in about a minute or so, but this big picture, especially this area right here, the southern half of Monroe County, southern half of McMinn County, is where we are looking at some of that broad rotation. As the morning continues on, again, we will continue to see a majority of these severe thunderstorms push their way to the east, and the rest of your Saturday is going to be a fantastic day. But this morning it has been rather busy. Again, we do have that tornado watch in effect until 7 o'clock this morning. This tornado warning is in effect until 7 o'clock this morning. Beyond that, it does look like we are going to continue to see some quieter conditions. I'm going to take off this warning one more time so we can focus. Excuse me, I took off the radar. Let's take off the warning so we can kind of take a look at where we are seeing the opportunity for some broad rotation. Again, trying to use words not confirming anything, but saying the opportunity for some broad rotation, some heavy rain, and up to quarter-size hail is going to be possible. Let's see if we can pick up on some of this hail that is moving through the area. And that is not wanting to work, folks. There we go. Well, let's see if we can see again. Yeah, perhaps maybe if we see some hail, it is going to be possible. Maybe around the Calhoun area, perhaps maybe some pea-sized hail around Englewood or Etowah. Hail is not going to be a huge concern with this system. If anything, more so it is going to be the opportunity for some very gusty winds. Etowah, Tellico Plains, Englewood, moving right along the Tennessee and North Carolina border as this storm continues to track off to the east. It's going to be shifting into the higher elevations here in just a little bit. Southeastern corner of Madisonville, you also have some gusty winds that are moving into your area. But really the rotation within this storm again is certainly not as alarming as what we've seen with some earlier storms today, but the potential for some of that broad rotation is still going to be there. And again, as we talked about before, that tornado warning that was just to the left of that bigger warning has now since been able to expire, and they are going to continue to keep that severe thunderstorm warning. This is from the National Weather Service for Blount, Loudoun, McMinn, and Monroe counties until 6:45. So they have now kept that going until 6:45 with the phrase of saying isolated tornado possible. Now, the reason why we're not really having the best opportunity to see some of that rotation within this storm is just location. It's between two different radars. It's you know, farther enough away from Morristown where we have our radar. It's also close to around the Chattanooga area, and so we're just trying to get all the information that we can when it comes to the spin in the atmosphere. If you are in this location, let us know what you're seeing. Join the conversation. Gusty winds, heavy rain, probably going to be pretty obvious with this, but other than that, we have not had any reports of storm damage, and we have not had any confirmed reports of seeing a tornado within this storm. So that's why we are saying the possibility is going to be there for an isolated tornado. Biggest concern that I have for the area location-wise would be just to the northwest of Etowah, heading in towards the Tellico Plains area. So just right across Highway 411, continuing to push into the southern half of Monroe County. Let's go into the big picture point of view again. So, taking a deep breath and focusing on the areas that are much quieter now. If you are living north of I-40 into the west of I-75, you can kind of take a deep breath because things are going to be much calmer. They are going to be breezy, so right here, and we're going to continue to see again some quieter conditions across parts of Fentress County, Cumberland County. Keep in mind, folks, we do have a wind advisory in effect throughout the day today until 8 p.m. So it will be windy, but when it comes to our severe weather threat, that is not going to be in place following this morning's storms. This is the track of showers and thunderstorms that we've been watching across our area, but beyond this, things again will be much quieter. We're looking at the biggest cluster of storms where we do have that tornado warning that is going to be in parts of McMinn and Monroe County, specifically across our area right here going down into the Southern Valley. So let's show you one more time that tornado warning. That is why we are taking over the programming this morning. Normally this is 10 News Today, but since we do have a tornado warning in place, we're just going to try and give you as much information as possible. And we are getting close to around sunrise, so if you are waking up this morning to the opportunity for some damage, be sure to join the conversation. Again, share your photos with us safely. Can't emphasize that enough. But we would like to know if there is anything in particular happening in your area. So tornado warning in effect until 7 o'clock this morning. We also have that tornado watch that is in effect until 7 o'clock this morning that expands across East Tennessee. If you live in well, right now at Calhoun, you're primarily out of the main threat, so I wouldn't necessarily be overly concerned if you're watching from Calhoun, but Tellico Plains, you're still very much in an area. Etowah, you're still seeing, again, potentially some gusty winds, some heavy rain that's moving through, and there is the potential, again, for an isolated tornado within this system. No confirmation, but very gusty winds will be possible. Let's look at the velocity scan one more time and see if things have changed. Now we're kind of getting a different reading. Yeah, just not picking up right now on a whole lot of rotation. If we do, it maybe perhaps to the east of Etowah, heading in towards the Tellico Plains area. Again, still some very gusty winds going to be possible. But this is just a tough location to really get a good idea of where we could potentially have some of that rotation. Tellico Plains, Etowah, that would be my main concern again if we were to see some possible rotation within this storm. But we're not seeing a whole lot of lightning with this system. We're really not seeing a whole lot of really a whole lot to be overly concerned with besides the potential for some gusty winds this morning. And that's exactly what we've had all across the region. That's what made its way through parts of Knox County. When it comes to the tornado threat, again, we're going to be watching this closely as we do have a tornado warning in place. But from my point of view and from what I'm looking at, again, I'm just going to continue to monitor the situation. We do have that severe thunderstorm warning that is also in effect just to the north of that tornado warning. That severe thunderstorm warning is going to be in effect for Blount, Loudoun, McMinn, and Monroe counties. And this is also going to be moving off to the east around 45 to 50 miles per hour. So this primarily is going to be affecting the northern half of Tellico Plains. Tallahassee, heads up, going to be sliding into your area as well. Madisonville, the heaviest rain, the gusty winds are now shifting off to your east. You still want to kind of keep in mind and be alert that there is still going to be some gusty winds behind this main round of rain. But I would say that the main threat is going to be shifting off to your east. Sweetwater, Philadelphia, Nyota, Athens, that main line of some strong storms has now moved off to your east as well. And as I talked about before, once we head throughout the rest of this morning, things will be trending much more on the quiet side. We do have that tornado warning again. Let's see, that has really had, they're continuing that tornado warning again for near Etowah. This is coming from the National Weather Service. So again, they canceled it for Bradley County. They still have it for Cherokee County, which is in North Carolina, McMinn and Monroe and Polk counties. That's going to be until 7 o'clock this morning. And this is a severe thunderstorm, again, capable of producing a tornado that was located near Etowah, as we talked about before. That's kind of where that broad rotation was at. And it's continuing to move off to the east at 55 miles per hour. This is also bringing in the potential for up to quarter-size hail. We talked about that before, but that just gives us an idea of the height of the clouds within this storm. You need some of those higher clouds in order for hail to form because you have to have that moisture that's just churning within those clouds, continuing to rotate over and over and over with that cold air aloft. And then that's what forms the opportunity for us to see some hail. Biggest impact again with this is going to be the opportunity for some flying debris. That's why we always try to warn folks that you want to make sure that you can, if you have a house with a basement, go to the lowest level of your house, go to the most interior room in your house, Get away from walls, get away from windows. This is not the time to go outside and try and see these storms. This is the time where you do want to get inside and make sure that you are taking shelter from these storms, as we could have the opportunity, the possibility for a storm that could produce a tornado. Again, this does include parts of McMinn, Monroe, and now Polk County. Again, Etowah, Tellico Plains. This is going to be more of a concern for you. Let's one more time. I really want to see this on the velocity. I want to get a glimpse of where we're looking at some of this potential rotation. If I were to kind of pick up on this again, it's exactly what the National Weather Service is saying. So this is going to be near Etowah, and this says 14 miles northeast of Benton, and it is continuing to move. Yeah, so exactly right. Let me kind of pick up on this location for you. Right here is where we could potentially see some of that rotation. So just to the southwest of Tellico Plains, and it is moving to the east at 45 miles per hour. Even if this is not a confirmed tornado, again, we have no confirmation from this. This is a possibility. There is still going to be some very strong winds within this storm. We're talking wind gusts up to 60 to 70 miles per hour. And this could still create damage. In addition to that, this storm also has the possibility of producing up to quarter-size hail. Again, let's talk a little bit more about the vertical liquid that we have in place. Again, as I mentioned, with those cloud tops, the higher that they go, the more that we get that moisture just kind of churning within these clouds. It gives us an idea of how the instability of the atmosphere. We're going to continue to see, again, the opportunity for some of that quarter-size hail possible. We've had no pictures, we've had no reports, but this is, again, just all the possibility of what could happen with these storms moving into that area. So if you're just tuning in right now, 10 News today will hopefully continue after we get these warnings to expire, but we do have a tornado warning that does include McMinn, Monroe, and Polk counties. That's going to go until 7 o'clock this morning. That is also when we have our tornado watch that will be in effect across East Tennessee. I want to give you a big picture point of view. I know I'm being repetitive, folks, but for those areas who are in these warnings, we do want to make sure we get the right information out. So radar is showing that we do have heaviest rain, gusty winds, the possibility of an isolated tornado down into the Southern Valley. As this progresses forward, it will be moving out of our area and it will be sliding into the higher elevations in North Carolina. This is a tough area to get a reading on, but right now we're going with the possibility of seeing some of that broad rotation. This is going to carry on until 7 o'clock this morning, but for areas to the west of I-75, areas to the north of I-40, your threat for seeing these strong storms has come to an end. So again, take a deep breath after what was a very busy start to the day, and we are going to continue to see some quieter weather. And I will show you the futurecast here just to kind of reassure you with that. So we put this into motion. It's done a really great job of picking up on where we're currently at. This is a look around 6:30 this morning. It makes its way into the higher elevations as we get closer to around sunrise. I mean, check this out. This is within the next 20 to 30 minutes. And then by the time we get closer to around 8 o'clock this morning and beyond, we start to see some quieter weather. We see gradual clearing of that sky, and we are going to continue to look at breezy conditions. Just a little side note, we do have that wind advisory and high wind warning that will be in effect until the evening hours tonight. We're looking at wind gusts throughout the Central Valley up to 40 to 50 miles per hour. This is after those thunderstorms move through the area. We're going to be drawing in some drier air, which is good news because that's what's kind of alleviating us from some of these severe thunderstorms. But it is going to be breezy, even up into the higher elevations. Could have gusts up to 60 to 70 miles per hour. We're already seeing some of those winds pick up across the area this morning. Looking at winds right now gusting up to around 20 to 30 miles per hour, and they will stay breezy as we head throughout the rest of the afternoon, shifting into more of a westerly direction. We have that tornado watch that's in effect until 7 o'clock this morning. We will see as the morning progresses that will start to expire from west to east. It's no longer in effect for Fentress and Cumberland County, and to be honest, they could take it off of the northern counties as well, but that will be approaching here at 7 o'clock this morning. We have no reports again of damage. The latest information that we have from the National Weather Service is going to be for that tornado warning that has been issued from McMinn, Monroe, and Polk counties. Let's get you back to why we're on here this morning and get you back to where those warnings are at. So, big picture point of view right now, we do have multiple severe thunderstorm warnings. This is going to be for areas south of I-40 and making its way into the higher elevations along the Tennessee and North Carolina border. That warning that we have in effect, let's kind of talk about this into more detail. We'll break this down for where we're at, and we will talk a little bit more about that warning that we have for parts of Polk County. So I do expect this to make its way into the higher elevations of North Carolina very shortly here. So it's primarily in effect for Polk and Greene counties. That's going to be for another 3 minutes as that does move out of the area from that point on. It will move into the higher elevations in North Carolina, and it will no longer include our higher elevation counties in East Tennessee. So Polk and Greene County, you are just a few minutes away from being out of this warning. But to be honest, the main threat for those gusty winds and severe weather has now shifted off to the east. We're just kind of letting that warning carry on. Then we take you down into the Southern Valley. This is the area that has definitely been a little bit more active and an area that we're still continuing to monitor closely. We have that tornado warning that does include McMinn, Monroe, and Polk counties. And you also notice hail size up to about quarter size in diameter. When we qualify severe thunderstorm warnings, we look for winds gusting over 60 miles per hour or up to quarter-size hail, and this meets both of those qualifications. We're going to continue to see this tornado warning still in effect for another roughly 15 minutes, and there is the potential, again, folks, for seeing some of this rotation, especially to the south of Tellico Plains. If I could pinpoint this area of where we're looking at some concern, it is going to be just to the south of Tellico Plains. It is some broad rotation. It's moving right along Highway 68. So if you do have friends or family in this location on the outer community bands of Tellico Plains, you do want to make sure, again, you are taking shelter. This is not a confirmed tornado, but there is still the possibility within this storm of seeing some very gusty winds. So that's a look at the velocity of what we're seeing. Winds within this storm, again, could be up to around 60 miles per hour at the surface. I know that these readings are just a little tough to get up on right now based off of its location, but right here is where we could potentially see some of that more so broad rotation as it continues to shift into the higher elevations of North Carolina. Again, just south of Tellico Plains. Gusty winds are still going to be possible within this storm, but that is where we do have that tornado warning. Let me pull that up for you again, and that's going to be in effect until 7 o'clock this morning. I do not foresee them extending this, including our counties here in East Tennessee. Let's see. They continued it for Monroe County. So they have taken McMinn and Polk counties out of that warning, that tornado warning. So now it just basically includes, it's moving into North Carolina, folks. You can see they're starting to take those areas out of that threat. So we will carry on with this likely until 7 o'clock this morning, and then we'll get back to 10 News today. But I want to make sure that our southeastern corner of Monroe County is still getting the information that they need with this tornado warning. So the latest that we have from the National Weather Service, again, is going to be a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 16 miles east of Etowah or 17 miles northwest of Murphy, which is in North Carolina, moving to the east at 60 miles per hour. This is going to be a tornado, possible quarter-size hail, and it is moving again quickly off to the east. This is going to continue to affect our area primarily for the southeastern corner of Monroe County. If you live in McMinn counties or if you live in Polk counties, you are no longer under this tornado warning. You're still going to see this scrolling at the bottom of your screen. We still have that tornado watch that will be in effect for another 15 minutes. But the reason why they have issued this tornado warning is because of radar indicated potential rotation within this storm. Again, this is primarily just to the southeast of Tellico Plains is where I would pick up on the best opportunity. You can kind of see it right here. Let me take this view and take away that warning. So again, just to the south of Tellico Plains is if I were to pinpoint some of that rotation that we could possibly have within this storm. It is going to be moving into the higher elevations of North Carolina very quickly. But if you live to the south of Tellico Plains or if you live in the higher elevations of Monroe County, you do have the possibility of some broad rotation, some very gusty winds moving into your area. This could lead to possible damage across this region, hence the reason why we are reminding folks to take shelter. This is still going to carry on for another 15 minutes, and even beyond that, if you have friends or family that live in the higher elevations of North Carolina, we want to remind you that this is a very strong storm that is continuing to push its way to the east. So looking at the latest severe thunderstorm warnings that we have in place, I believe there are no more across East Tennessee. So we will carry on with this tornado warning until it is set to expire, considering that this is just to the south of Tellico Plains, but there are currently no severe thunderstorm warnings across East Tennessee. We do have some moderate to heavy rain that is continuing to push its way through parts of Knox County, Blount County, Sevier County, Cocke County, Greene County. There is no severe thunderstorm warnings along with that, but some gusty winds will be possible. As we've mentioned, why we are still talking about this is that we do have a tornado warning, and this is going to be for areas south of Tellico Plains, moving right along the Tennessee and North Carolina border. We do not have reports of damage with this storm. We do not have a confirmed tornado with this storm. But the National Weather Service has continued on with that tornado warning for another roughly 13 minutes because there was a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado that was last seen 16 miles to the east of Etowah or 17 miles northwest of Murphy in North Carolina, moving to the east at 60 miles per hour now. So if you do live in this area, this is the time to take shelter as we are tracking this strong storm that is continuing to, again, primarily impact Tellico Plains. Once we start to get more information, and again, this storm is moving quickly off to the east, we will be able to return back to our normal 10 news today because the rest of the day is going to be relatively quiet. But I do just want to kind of let this system pass just a little bit further before I feel comfortable getting off air. Tornado warning in effect until 7 o'clock this morning. That does include Cherokee, North Carolina, and then it really just more so includes the southeastern corner of Monroe County. Have not had any reports from Tellico Plains of seeing any damage from this system, but we are going to continue to watch the opportunity for some of those gusty winds. Let me kind of show you again where we're looking at those gusty winds. It's right here. You can kind of see that bowing effect. This is very similar to the line of storms that was actually moving its way through parts of Knox County earlier this morning when we had that tornado warning. This is just a very similar view. When we get this bowing effect like this, it gives us an idea of some of those strong winds that are just pushing behind this storm, causing it to have that bow look. So some very strong winds are going to be moving in just to the south of Tellico Plains. Not exactly sure, again, confirming if we do have any rotation within this storm, but what we can say just based off of this imagery is that we do have some very gusty winds that are going to be sliding their way up into the higher elevations and then pushing their way into parts of North Carolina very shortly. We have that tornado warning that is still in effect for roughly 10 more minutes. We do have the opportunity for, again, some broad rotation just to the southeast of Tellico Plains, and this is going to be, again, to the east of I-75, continuing to move right along the Tennessee and North Carolina border. This is where we do have that tornado warning that will be in effect just a little bit longer. Tellico Plains is the main concern right now, but thankfully, folks, it looks like the main gusty winds, the main concern is slowly going to be moving out of the Tellico Plains area, and we will start to see improving conditions. Let's take a big picture point of view again. We're on air right now. We're still staying on here because we have that tornado warning in place. Once we start to get some confirmation that we're really starting to see this weekend, we will take this off and we will continue to get back to normal programming, and that will probably be here in about 10 minutes. Big picture point of view right now, we have these showers and thunderstorms that are sliding their way to the east of I-75, to the south of I-40. Tornado warning in effect for the southeastern corner of Monroe County. That will be in effect until 7 o'clock this morning. Beyond that, again, main concerns for your weekend forecast will be some gusty winds. We have that tornado watch that's in effect until 7 o'clock this morning. I do not foresee this to carry on much longer than that, considering the line of storms is moving out of the area. Quickly looking over downtown Knoxville, this is just kind of giving us a view as to what we can expect as that sun comes up within the next 30 to 40 minutes. We're going to be looking at a quieter day today, a breezy day with winds that will certainly become gusty into the afternoon. We have a high wind warning as well as a wind advisory that will be in effect until 8 p.m. tonight. So even as these storms move out of the area, we are still going to have some gusty winds. And this is going to be following this cold front that is going to be sliding its way through the area. Roughly 9 more minutes with this tornado warning, folks. Again, I may actually get out of this a little bit earlier. I guess we can talk to our producers and see, since we only have a few more minutes left. But I do not think that the threat with this tornado warning looks quite as strong as what it did perhaps even 15 minutes ago. And I do expect that once this warning continues to reach its marker at 7 o'clock, I do not foresee them extending extending this, and if they do extend it, it would be primarily for the higher elevations in North Carolina. So if you do live in the southeastern corner of Monroe County, let's zoom in a little bit closer on this. Your threat is slowly coming to an end. Yes, gusty winds will still be a big part of this system. But when it comes to the main concern that we had of some rotation, just not seeing the same scenario as to what we had when this storm was first initially brought up. So very gusty winds, yes, going to be possible. Rotation, not necessarily going to be the case. So we are going to continue to see some very gusty winds move through the area. This is going to be in the southeastern corner of Monroe County. And we're going to continue to watch this move into the higher elevations of North Carolina. So if you live in the southeastern corner of Monroe County, again, you are still under that tornado warning. You're probably hearing that your devices on your phone talk about it. You have that warning going across the screen. I just do not foresee this warning being as much of an impact as what it was. Higher elevations in North Carolina, if you have friends or family that are camping, this storm is going to continue to slide off to the east. Now, thankfully, big picture point of view, these storms will continue to weaken as they move off to the east, and so the threat of what we had once earlier this morning may not necessarily be the same. But if I were to look at this big picture, you look at this over the last 3 hours, we're still seeing some fairly strong storms, and the strongest storm that we are tracking is now currently sitting in the southeastern corner of Monroe County. But thankfully, Tellico Plains, it is starting to move slowly out of your area, and so that big threat, that main concern for some of these strong storms will slowly start to come to an end. Let me highlight this for you with your Futurecast model, because I know a majority of us who are watching this morning trying to plan the rest of your day. Maybe it may be a day of cleanup for some of us following some of these early morning storms. We're going to continue to see this cluster of storms roll out of the area relatively quickly, even as we get closer to sunrise. This will not necessarily be something that we continue to talk about. The rest of your Saturday, we'll see more of a westerly wind. We'll have drier air that will move into the area. A few clouds will build as we head into the afternoon and into the evening. But truth be told, the rest of your weekend looks like it's going to be actually quite nice. Today will be breezy. We do have a wind advisory and a high wind warning that will be in effect until 8 p.m. tonight. So even after these storms move through the area, wind will still be a big part of our forecast today. Wind advisory in effect for all of those areas shaded in light tan, where we could have wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour. We also have that high wind warning for more of that mustard color, where we could have winds gusting up to around 60 to 70 miles per hour. It's been a full team effort this morning. We also have meteorologist Kaylee Bowers, who has been in here since early this morning. We're on social media. We're answering your questions. But thankfully, folks, a large portion of this severe weather is going to be coming to an end. So taking you down into the Southern Valley, let's highlight one more time where we do have this tornado warning. Again, the threat is certainly not looking as strong as what it once was. I do not foresee this tornado warning being extended across East Tennessee. In fact, after this, it does look like most of the warnings that we have in place will cancel. And I do foresee the rest of the day today being on the quieter side as these storms continue to make their way into the higher elevations. We do have the yellow boxes, which are severe thunderstorm warnings now in North Carolina. That tornado warning that we have in the southeastern corner of Monroe County is showing some very gusty winds. But when it comes to the rotation that we were once concerned with, I would say that a large portion of that is continuing to kind of taper off. So let me show you again one more time, zoom in on that tornado warning that we still have in effect until 7 p.m. So that's going to be for another 4 minutes. Main concerns at one point were Tellico Plains. You notice Tellico Plains, you are now out of that concern box. And so this is not necessarily going to be an issue for you much longer. You're still probably having some gusty winds, but the main concern for what could be that rotation has now made its way out of the area. And so I do foresee this tornado warning to expire once we get to 7 o'clock this morning. This is in effect for Cherokee County, also in the higher elevations. Hail size is going to be up to about an inch in diameter, which is quarter size, and there was at one point the possibility for that. We may even see the opportunity for some small hail leading into the higher elevations where we have those shades of green. This is just kind of indicating the vertical liquid that we have right now. This is also another great way of picking up on the potential for some small hail across the region. Again, not going to be impactful. I don't think hail is going to be a huge deal with this storm, but this one in particular did show the possibility of seeing some of that quarter-size hail. Tornado warning has been issued until 7 o'clock this morning. You're going to see that across the screen. We also have that tornado watch, which I do foresee to expire once we get to 7 o'clock this morning as well. So lots of good things to look forward to, folks. If I can reassure you, we do have some brighter weather to look forward to for the rest of the day today, but it is going to be breezy. Wind advisory and high wind warning will be in effect until 8 o'clock tonight. And we're going to be talking much more about this. I promise you, 10 News today will be starting at its normal time as we go into really the next at 8 o'clock hour after this is done. So busy morning, folks. Thankfully, things are slowly coming to an end. We're kind of wrapping it up after this tornado warning does expire in the far southeastern corner of Monroe County. Storms are slowly starting to come to an end as well. It was a busy start to the day. Hopefully, storm damage has been rather minimal. In fact, let's see if we've had any of that storm damage reports across the area. We did talk about this earlier. So we've had in Sevier County, let's see. This was going to be a wind gust at Cove Mountain up to 76 miles per hour, taking you up into Sunbright, where we had several trees down. Spring City, where we had one tree down on the road near Spring City. And we also had reports, I believe, out of Bradley County, which is out of our viewing area. But we also had reports of, I believe, a tree down on a house in the southwestern corner of Bradley County. So we've had multiple reports of seeing some storm damage. I'm sure as the sun comes up, we will get many more reports of that. But thankfully, folks, again, right now we're just kind of carrying this on until this warning is done. We are going to continue to see some quieter weather. We're going to continue to see, again, temperatures staying back into the 60s today, 70s possible at times. This is kind of a sneak peek as to what you can expect for the rest of the afternoon. Breezy conditions return as we go throughout the middle part of the day as well. And we're going to continue to see this nice weather carry on. I have not had a chance since we've been in here this morning at 3 o'clock. We're going to take a look at your 7-day forecast. I want to update it a little bit, but we'll show you what we have, and maybe we can update this as we're with you right now. Scattered showers going to be possible as we go throughout the rest of this morning. That 30% AM for Sunday should not be there. We're adjusting this, folks, since we are on air, and we've been doing cut-ins all morning. Let me show you what we could potentially expect for the rest of the week. Quieter conditions, sunshine returns tomorrow. Temperatures back into the 80s as we head into your Tuesday and Wednesday. Again, we'll have more of an updated forecast for the rest of your Saturday coming up at 8 o'clock this morning on 10 News today. But as we get closer to the top of the hour, hopefully our tornado watch will be expired. Hopefully this tornado warning will be expired, and the rest of the day here across East Tennessee, folks, should be much quieter. So we do leave you with this radar loop right now. Again, still have that tornado warning until 7 o'clock this morning. Meteorologist Kaylee Bowers has been here all morning. Thankful for a full team coverage and thankful that we're going to have a quieter day to look forward to. We'll have much more coming up on 10 News today, starting at 8 o'clock.
Watch Heather Wallaga weekday mornings on 10 News Today.